Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? My name is Tony Rivano, and you're listening to another episode of the world famous, the University Love, the best podcast in one, two, three galaxies. But, ladies and gentlemen, you and I would just call this show Online Marketing Moves, and we are coming to you live today. Ladies and gentlemen, today is August the 5th, 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, it's early in the morning at the crack of dawn. Ladies and gentlemen, I am very excited to be talking to you today. We have an exciting show today. We are going to talk about you, and we are going to talk about changes that you might want to make in your life to really get down the road on the path of success. Now, ladies and gentlemen, one of my favorite movies is Shawshank Redemption, okay? And one of my favorite parts is when Andy, he's been there 20 years. He goes out to the yard. Ladies and gentlemen, I know about prisons. I used to be in one. I worked in one. But Andy Dufresne, he walked out to the yard, he saw Red, and he said, Red, you ever think you're gonna get out of here? And Red said, one day, two or three marbles in my head, yada blah blah blah. And Andy said, man, I'm going to San Guataneo. And Red said, say what? And he was explaining to him, he's like, hope. He said, man, I got hope. I know I'm gonna get out of here. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I say all that to you to say, and I got a movie. I hate to tell you the end of the movie, but Andy escaped, and and in order for him to escape, he had to swim through 500 like 500 feet of poop, basically, like it was a sewer line. So he had to crawl. He had to crawl through that, and he came out clean on the other side. So what I am suggesting to you, ladies and gentlemen, far too often, we stop. You got a good idea, you got a great idea. You got to get down there, man. You got to make a few sacrifices, and you just stop. You say, no, I can't do it. No. And it's like, why not? If you swim them 500 yards, and you could be in a whole new world. Andy, he got in that sewer. He crawled in that sewer. He came out. It was raining. He washed up. he got put on a suit. He went down to the bank. He collected like $400,000. Man, Andy had it. And so what I'm telling you is, man, too often we stop. We have a great idea, we stop. You have a great idea, you stop. I give you an example, and I've gave this example before. This is way back in the podcast. Me and my brother, at some point in time, my brother, for some reason, every night when we was living together, way back when I wore a younger man's clothes, but way back, he used to watch these infomercials about buying houses, getting into the housing market, and this was in the early 2000s. And so my brother, he was like, "Hey, man, I'm gonna get into the housing. I'm gonna get into real estate." And I was like, "Okay." And as you well know, even Jesus had to go through this. Nobody in Jesus' hometown believed nothing. He was performing miracles, so he didn't perform a lot of miracles in his hometown. You know, when you talking to your sibling and you grew up with and me and my brother, we lived together. Was in the same. We had to sleep in the same room. You know, we had to spend a lot of time together. So you know somebody, you know them, and when they tell you, I'm gonna get into real estate, you go, yeah, yeah, whatever you say, man, whatever you say, homeboy. And so I did not believe nothing my brother was telling me. And my brother, he started, he just kept on. And I'm like, man, okay. And then finally one day he was like, come on, man. He said, I met this guy, and he wanted to talk to me about houses. And I was like, oh, you for real? And he was like, yeah, I told you, man. And I'm like, my bad, my boy, I ain't believe nothing you said. And we went and we met up with the guy. We met up with this guy, and The guy he was talking to, my brother, he really been studying this whole thing now, mind you. And this is my brother, who, if you know my brother, you'd be like, nah, this is not him. But he was spitting out numbers. And my brother's like, yeah, 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 I saw this property, blah, blah, blah. The guy was like, yeah, go check it out, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, you're gonna need this type of loan. And brother's like, oh, right now my credit good, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, what the hell going on? I just kept looking around like, am I being, is this a joke, man? What the hell's going on? And so my brother, he went, he saw the property, blah 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 blah, and I'm gonna tell you what happened. So my brother, they was telling him, the cost and the rent. It was like a townhouse. It was like two or three or four like apartments in there. Okay, and I was like, man, my brother really finna. So my brother, he got to the part where he was just like Andy Dufresne. He got to the sewer. He looked inside the sewer, and my brother said, "Nope, I ain't swimming in that. I ain't swimming in that poop." My brother, when I he went to go look at another house, and I remember I was like, "Hey, what's up with that townhouse, man? Blah blah blah. When we going?" He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna buy my house first, and then I'm gonna go look at that house." I said, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, man. I'm gonna get me a house first, and then I'm gonna." I said, "What do we need a house? What you need to buy a house for when we got a property you can just live in?" I said, "We can just live in one of them, man. Then the other three we can collect rent from." My brother was like, "I'm just gonna buy a house first." My brother still ain't bought a house. My brother ain't bought a house yet. Man, I tell you what, my brother could have, and things would have been. I don't know how that would have went. I don't know how that would have looked, but it would have been an opportunity to learn about real estate at that time. It would have been an opportunity to um, forget the money part. I don't know how the money. We would have to keep a lot of. We would have to save a lot of that money because repairs and all that. But still, that's fine. That's cool. But we would have been into real estate, and then we would have got, you get one deal, you get another deal, you get two deals, you get four deals. You understand? But I laugh about it now. You can't change time, you can't change people's minds, so that's all right. But what I'm telling you is, you have a great idea. It doesn't matter. You want to create content. You want to become. You want to get into sales. You want to get into whatever. Do not do not hesitate. Do not wait. Do not think, oh, I can't do this. Do not have a great idea, because we all have great ideas. Problem is, we never execute the great ideas. We get to a point, and you go, "Mm, nah, nah, nah. I can't do it. I ain't gonna do it. I don't want to do it." You want to do it. You're just afraid. It doesn't matter if you're afraid to fail. It doesn't matter you're afraid to try something new. It doesn't matter if you're. A lot of times we start doing stuff. We work in the industry. I drove a truck 20 years, 20 years, and so you get to a point where you're like, hey, you you look around, you see people messing up. You go, amateurs. And if you want to, it's just like I've been writing. I've been writing last few months, last few years, but I've gotten better with the writing. And in the beginning, it was like going back to school. It was like elementary. I'd be writing, and I would have to go to the. I would go to the dictionary and say, because I would write the same word. I go, come on, man, I gotta come up with a new word. I know different words, but you just out of shape when it comes to the writing. You just kind of out of shape. And so I had to go to the thesaurus, and I had to really go back and think about, when I was in English, and then when I went to college and studied English. I had really had to go back and say, all right, come on, we're gonna do this, and start writing faster, because it would take me like a whole day just to write, a paragraph. And I said, no, I can't do this. We gotta write faster, we gotta be quicker. And so I kept applying that stuff, and I said, you know what? We are going to get into, because I want to stay home, and I want to write. and I want to have the ability to write a book. And so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get into copywriting so that way I can start making money from writing. I could be home every day at my house and just start writing what I want to write. And so I just kept thinking, you know, and I'm I was like, I don't know, man. I would go back and I don't know, man. I don't know, you know. But then I'm like, why not? You know, what do I have to lose? I know I can write. I know I have the ability. Come on, man. You know, it's just like, come on. And so I say for you, you have the same abilities. You know, God has blessed us with the brain. You know, we're not animals. You know, we're not birds. You know, we don't automatically just have to fly down south. You know, we are not birds. We are not, geese. We are not bears. We are human beings, and we can change the trajectory of our lives anytime, any day, anywhere. Doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter race, creed, color, none of that matters. It doesn't matter if you've been poor your whole life. You know, I read a book about Sam Walton. Sam Walton got Walmart popping in his 40s. Ray Kroc got Walmart. I mean, he got McDonald's popping in his 50s. Um, you know, it doesn't matter what time you're at. I remember the lady was in Black Panther. She was like 80 years old, and when she got older, she really wanted to get cracking into acting, and she did that. And so there's no timeline, man. There's no, because sometimes you don't know what you don't know. Okay, and that's all right. But eventually, your job, anybody's job in life, is to always be open for new information. That's it. Do not be stuck like, oh, this is my life. This is all I got. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what you've had going on. You can change all of that. You know, they make buses. You can move. You can leave. I remember when I came to the great city of Atlanta, Georgia. All I had was a bag. I had a bag and a cell phone in my pocket, and that cell phone was my brother. My brother helped me get a cell. My brother helped me get a cell phone. So that wasn't even my cell phone technically. And so all I had was a duffel bag, you know, some clothes, and in a vision. And I was like, we're gonna make this work. And 20 and about January 2006. So it'll be 20 years. I moved to like in August. I started thinking about moving in August of 2005. By January, I was in Atlanta full time and haven't been back since. I haven't went back to Missouri, you know, not to live anyway, but to visit and all that. But what I'm telling you is, there, there's no, there's nothing that can stop you. There's nothing that can be in your way. Most of the time, man, we get in our own way. Most of the time, we are our worst critic. That thing you sold. You start sewing pillows. You're like, oh, this sucks. It's good. It's good. It's you. You're the problem. You are the worst critic. Most people are their own worst critics. It doesn't matter what you do. It does not matter. You will be the one if you decide you want to start a restaurant, you will be your worst critic. The food will be good. You've cooked this food 100 times. You've done this 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times. You're still like, no, no. Like me, I can open up a restaurant and cook cornbread. I make excellent cornbread. I know this. My wife knows this. Okay. My mom, she's a hater. She knows I make great cornbread. You know. Uh, I make excellent cornbread. That's all I can tell you. I got one meal I can cook that I can sell to people. Beef stew. That I am confident about. I have no doubt about that. People will buy it. People will love it. Okay. But if I decided to open up a beef stew shop, the first day I would be like, oh man, oh man, it sucks. It sucks. It sucks. It's just how people are. It's just the way we are. It's human nature for some reason. But if you have a great idea, and that great idea is just touching your soul, man, don't don't get to the sewer and not crawl through there. Get to the sewer, crawl through there as quick as possible with two elbows. Okay, do not be like my brother. Okay, my brother. I still think about that every now and then. I laugh, but it does irritate me. It irks my soul. I'm like, that was a nice property, and we could have got that for low, no money. I don't know what my brother was yapping to them people, but he was doing it, and he ain't done nothing. He ain't tried it ever since. It's a shame, but that's just the way it is. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you lose your own belief. But you don't. But I don't want you to lose your belief. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I know that was that. Sometimes you got it. Sometimes you got to pull out the old motivational card. Okay, a lot of things are not about what you know. A lot of things are not about what you do. A lot of things about, do you believe? Do you believe in love after love? And if you don't believe in what you're trying to do, man, it ain't gonna work. It don't matter. It don't matter how many classes you take. It don't matter how many degrees you got. If you don't believe, hey, this thing it's not gonna work. You know, I remember when I first, and we'll wrap this up. When I first started driving the truck, you should have saw how terrible I was. I was god off. It wasn't good, but I was like, you know what, man, we gonna make this thing work, because I ain't looking back. I ain't going back. So we made it happen. I've conquered that, and now I am like Andy Dufresne. It's been 20 years of this here life. I liked it. I appreciate it, but it's time to go. And so we're gonna be, you know, full in timing. So um I hope you have those same feelings. But ladies and gentlemen, that's it. We'll be back tomorrow with all new episode of Online Marketing Moves. My name is Tony Rizano. Thank you for listening. God bless each and every one of you. And as always, everybody, peace.